who's going to be the MVP this year? And I totally am with Pat McAfee on this one, John. But I'll tell you what, it isn't a 100% layup either, because when you look at it this year, there's the potential for a couple of running backs. Saquon Barkley, not so bad. He's averaging almost 6 a carry, 11 touchdowns, almost 1,700 yards this year, and he's still got some time. And then you look over at Derrick Henry, 1,500 yards, 6 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns. So one of those two guys, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a quarterback, and it's a matter of which quarterback probably. And right now, it's Goff and Josh Allen, because when you look at the records of those teams, I think that becomes a factor in this whole MVP thing. I love seeing what Lamar Jackson can do. His numbers are staggering, 34 touchdowns, John, with 3 interceptions. I mean, who does that? Who goes through this deep into the season with only 3 interceptions? Shoot, most of these quarterbacks playing in the NFL, which is why most of the teams are under 500, probably throw that many in a game, 3 interceptions. So it's amazing what he's been able to do. I think Derrick Henry was part of the reason that when he got a lot more opportunity as a quarterback, doesn't have to run as much. He's only got 3 touchdowns. And that's where Josh Allen, for me, I think McAfee is right. Look at his numbers. He's got 25 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Those don't really blow you away. But what does blow you away a little bit is he's got 11 rushing touchdowns. And when you showed that clip that McAfee put up there, John, the guy has the speed of a wide receiver. He's got the size of a tight end. He's as tough as a linebacker. And who wants him? If you're a linebacker in the NFL these days, they're much smaller, John, than they once were. You know, when you and I played, your standard linebacker was somewhere between 6'3" and 6'5", probably weighed about 245. Now these linebackers are a lot closer to 6'2" or 6'3", and they weigh about 220. So when you've got Josh Allen running at you at, call it 6'5", maybe even a little bit more, 245, 250 pounds, who has the advantage there? I would say Josh Allen. I think he's going to be the MVP, but I might be missing somebody, John. I love Joe Burrow, but the team can't win. They got no defense. I think the world of the kid. It's just not going to happen this year, despite the fact this is his best year, I think, in the NFL. He's not throwing interceptions. He's only got 8. So he's a great player. I love him to death. You know, I know his brother. I know him. They're really great guys, but I got to give the nod to Josh Allen. What do you think?
Well, you named the two, I think, Pete, Jared Goff and Josh Allen, that should be in the running for MVP. It won't be Jackson again. He's not going to repeat. But that's not to say he's having a terrible year. And Joe Burrow, like you say, I was looking at Grok, you know, Elon Musk's AI, and it has them favorably compared, Burrow and Allen, except, you know, for 2 things in my mind. Grok didn't say this, but I will. Joe Burrow has had a lot of injuries. Josh Allen has had next to none, Pete. I mean, the kid is strong. So is Burrow, but Burrow's had some, you know, issues with his O-line and so forth. I think he's an incredible passer, but not the same runner, of course, as Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, and for good reason, too. I'm sure the coaches told him just slide because they don't want to have him hurt again. Right. And I think Saquon Barkley is a great player and deserving of it as well. I think Goff is going to have a hard time if it's Goff. And I don't even know, Pete, after last night, the Vikings playing 50, you know, at 50%, because they sure weren't turning on the Jets last night like they could have. But if they played at half speed last night, they could give Detroit everything Detroit or Green Bay, everything they can handle, because they've got speed, they've got all those receivers, a great offensive line, very good defense for a change. And by the way, Detroit's injured. And Montgomery, that loss of Montgomery is huge. So we'll see if they can reload at the running back spot. But that kid was special, and he's gone for the year. He's gone, and hopefully comes back strong next year. But I think you're right. Josh Allen wins the MVP, but I don't know who beats him, Pete.
Right. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you are so right about last night and just getting a chance to watch some of the Viking game and see how good they really look right now. And I think if you go back and you look at Detroit, they look great except on defense. I mean, they're still managing to score the points that they did. But the problem is the entire defense, it feels like, is hurt. And it all started right at the beginning with Hutchinson, who was literally having, one of those years where he's in a conversation for being the best defensive player in football for sure. And then all of a sudden he gets hurt. He's gone. They had to replace him and move on. So that makes it really a struggle, I think. If they can't get healthy quick, Detroit might have a bit of an issue, particularly on the defensive side. All right, John, how about in the offseason this past year? Now, who had the best signing of anybody in the offseason? And I got to eat a lot of words on this one, but I'm willing to do it. So the Vikings get out there, and what do? They draft a quarterback. They go up. They got the number 10 pick, and they grab J.J. McCarthy. And they're pretty excited about that. They should be. He's a heck of a quarterback. He got hurt in the preseason, and he looked like he was ready to be the starter. Well, the one thing about the best signing, I think, in the entire offseason is Sam Darnold really did make the right decision, John, when he chose to come to the Minnesota Vikings right over here. Let me tell you something. Here's what he was able to walk into, which I think if you're a quarterback and a guy like Sam Darnold, who he got drafted really, really high about 6-7 years ago. And when he got drafted, John, when you go high, that means you go to a pretty pathetic place. So he had nobody to play with when he was with the Jets and with Carolina. And it really was, very difficult on him. Well, he comes to a team this year. Let's see. J.J. McCarthy, he's a number 25 pick in the first round, wide receiver. Not J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson. Then you've got Addison, number 23 in the same draft. Naylor, number 22 in a first round in the draft. He's got 3 first-round wide receivers. He's got Hawkinson at tight end. He's got a decent offensive line. We did lose the left tackle this past couple of weeks ago, but he's got it all, John. And so we're starting to look at this guy and go, well, wait a minute. This guy, he's not MVP, but 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 67% completion. And he went to the right team, and it was probably the best free agent signing I have seen in a long time. The only dispute going on here in Minnesota now, John, is what do you do with him at the end of the year? He's got a 1-year contract. Do you, and this is maybe the best question for you, you and I are financial guys, does he get a $30 million a year contract, maybe over 3 years, so it's $90 million? Or what do you do with the guy? Do you let him leave? Because he's free if you don't. And then you've got to decide, is J.J. McCarthy going to be healthy enough? Is he going to be right? Is he at the right time? So what do you think the Vikings should do? What would you do if you were the GM? Do you have to sign him?
You don't have to, because there's other quarterbacks out there that, are going to be looking. And could you plug and play them just like this guy? Because, obviously he didn't know the offense until he got there. So he's not had years and years of experience and friendships with all these players and all that kind of stuff that makes a difference. The friendships, not as much as knowing how, when the guy cuts, when he looks and things like that. Because there were a couple near misses last night where he threw the ball a little flat, I thought, Pete. One over the middle to Justin Jefferson, credit to Troy Aikman, he called it. He threw the ball flat rather than letting him run to it. He drilled it, and it went right by him, and he reached out to get it, but it was too far out in front of him. Took that much off of it as, he would have if he'd been playing with him for 2 or 3 years. That's a catch and probably a touchdown because he's running against the defense coming the other way, and knowing Justin Jefferson, he probably goes. But I think you got to sign him. I think he's done too well. He's a young guy. It's not like he's some, our Aaron Rodgers or something like that, where you're worried about the age. Does he have anything left in the tank? This guy obviously does have a lot left, and he's played virtually every snap this year, except when they've taken him out for, mop-up time. So I think you sign him. And if McCarthy comes back strong, Pete, well, then you got a decision to make. Do you trade him at that point? And
Yeah.
that's a, like they say, game time decision.
Here's the scariest part, John. Do we have a pretty good quarterback room? Because we also got the quarterback from the Giants who, granted, now he struggled for sure, but Daniel Jones is a great athlete. He really, truly is a great athlete. So he's sitting in the quarterback room. You got J.J. McCarthy there, and then Sam Darnold, who's having, as you and I were just saying, one heck of a year. So that might be one of the best quarterback rooms in all of the NFL, I would say, because I think from the looks of things, all three of them could start on quite a few different teams in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in to the Rebel's Edge. Remember, you can scan the little QR code that's right there at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, there it is, right down there. Jared put up a little arrow for me. You can scan that QR code, get your ticket to Vegas. It's going to be fabulous. March 22nd with Grant Cardone and a whole bunch of our friends that'll be there for the 22nd, and a whole bunch of celebrities the 20th and 21st. That's one thing Grant does. He brings the heat. And so we appreciate all of you. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.